Okay, so I'm going to do a video that figures out the nearest enemy. So before I begin, I'll just go ahead and make some duplicates of this enemy character. So I'll just do 3 for now, and then I'll go into the main character script, and I'm going to start off by creating some variables. So the first one is a public game object with brackets. It can be called all enemies. So I think the brackets means an array. So it's like it's going to be used to store all the enemies into this variable in the scene. Public game object nearest enemy, which is going to store the nearest enemy in that variable. Float called distance. A float called nearest distance. And I'm going to set this something really high, like 10,000, because it's going to be something to compare it to. All the distances of the enemies are going to be compared to this. And in the update function, I'll go to the very bottom of it. I'm going to do a piece of code that says all enemies, which is the array, equals game object find game objects with tag enemy. So that piece of code is going to find all the objects with the enemy tag, and it's going to store it in this variable. And after that, I'm going to do a for loop, and in here it's going to be int I equals 0. So I'm going to make an integer, and I'm going to set the value to 0. I smaller than all enemies. I'm going to make this lowercase, all enemies. Dot length. So if there's 3 enemies on scene, then the length of it is going to be 3. And I plus plus. So every time it loops, it's going to add 1. So plus plus means add 1, I think. So distance vector 3 dot distance transform dot position, which is the position of this player, and all enemies I dot transform dot position. So every time this is a loop, so every time this loops, we'll start at 1, because it's 0. It starts at 0, but it's plus 1, so we'll go to 1. I'm not sure if it starts at 0 or if it starts at 1, but just say it starts at 0. Then we'll get the distance between the player and just say enemy 0. And the next distance will be, the next loop will check enemy 1, and then enemy 2, and then we'll just go loop around. I think that's how it works. So each time it does that, it gets the distance, and with the distance we going to do a comparison. If distance is smaller than nearest distance, so to start off, it's the nearest distance is 10,000. Then nearest distance, or sorry, nearest enemy equals all enemies I. So whatever I is whatever number it happens to be at a particular loop. And then it's going to loop again, and then it's going to check if the next enemy is closest to the nearest distance of the previous enemy. And if it is, then that enemy is going to be set as the nearest enemy. So hopefully that makes sense. And then nearest distance is going to equal distance. So this is constantly being calculated for each of the enemies on the scene. And right after that, I'm going to start a coroutine. It's going to be called reset nearest distance. Outside of the update function, I'm going to do enumerator reset nearest distance yield return new wait 4 seconds. So let's just I'm going to do 0.2 seconds. After 0.2 seconds, nearest distance is going to be equal to 10,000. The reason why I'm doing this is because every time this loops, if it gets compared, just say the nearest distance is 0.5 units from the player, but just say the player moves and the next nearest enemy is 0.6, but he's further away from the original nearest enemy, then it's never going to get the next nearest enemy is not going to be set, because the nearest distance is still set as the previous one, even though he's now further away from the original nearest enemy. So in order to give it a different comparison, like a new comparison, you have to like refresh this to 10,000 or to a very high number. So with that done, I'm just going to compile, and I want to play just to show you. It's taking a while. So first I'm going to select the main character, and I'm going to go down here, and here it's going to show all the enemies. It's going to list the enemies here. So there's 3 of them. It's going to list all 3. Where did the 3rd one go? Oh, I didn't move it. I'll move it. So I want to keep the player selected, and you're going to see the list of enemies, and here it's going to show you out of the 3 which one is the nearest one. So if I hit play, actually I need to get out of I don't want full screen. I need to be able to see the inspector. So I'm going to stop this. game, play focused. Go back down here so you can see this, and then hit play again. So if I go down, it lists all the enemies. It also lists the boss. But here it says enemy troop, which is this one, is the closest one. But if I move up, then it says enemy 2 is the nearest one. So you can see this change. Okay, whoops. That's the bulk of what I want to do for this video, but I'm going to do one more thing. So once the character script determines which enemy is the nearest, I'm going to go into the enemy troop, and based on this information that I extract in the main character script, the enemy is going to use that information to determine whether it itself is the nearest enemy or not. So I'm going to, inside the enemy troop script, I'm going to create a boolean called is nearest enemy, and by default it's going to be set to false. And at the very bottom of the script, I'm going to create two public voids. So public void called is nearest enemy, if this public void is triggered, then is nearest enemy is set to true. I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to change this to is not nearest enemy. If this void is triggered, then is nearest enemy, it's going to be set to false. So I'm going to compile that. I'm going to hop back into the main character script, and within this for loop that I just created, right underneath all this, I'm going to do if nearest enemy equals all enemies I. So if the nearest enemy equals the enemy in question at any moment in the loop, then all enemies I dot get component enemy troop. So it's getting the enemy troop script. It's going to trigger is nearest enemy, meaning it's going to trigger this public void. I'm going to copy and paste this. Else if nearest enemy does not equal all enemies I, then I'm just going to change this to not nearest enemy. So the second one's going to get triggered. So I'm going to compile that. I'm just going to leave it like that. Basically, I'm not going to use it yet. I'm just going to set it up like this ahead of time, just in case I do need that bit of information, whether or not this particular enemy is the closest enemy. But the main thing that I wanted to do was this one and the main character. I want the main character to know which enemy is the closest one for the purposes of mostly melee attacks, but maybe some other things in the future. So that's all I wanted to do for this video. Hopefully you found that useful, and thanks for watching.